Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Right. No, just see Hewlett Packard gapping down here. Pretty significant amount. Um, you know, looking at some charts yesterday on the markets didn't well, they kind of moved up and down, didn't move very far from the prior close, but some ugly stuff starting to happen. There's no can't make any mistakes. All right, so let's see what's going on here this morning. So review, big nasty down day on last Friday. So far, trading within that range. Prices came up. Yes, in the morning yesterday, we reviewed that they had the potential to get significantly higher, but they stalled right at that minor resistance that we talked about. And I don't know if it was this market I was talking about, but I think it was. I know what that was, and the cues were the same way. But one of the things I mentioned was about trading above and below and neutralizing that area besides being beyond what's directly to the left, but this just sliced through it. And, this is the idea of a part of the idea of a void, because this really, it's kind of weird. Markets, after a down day like that, I suppose it's not unusual to have some erratic or weird price action. Um, Point being about voids and looking to the left, this big downdraft created this void up above. And the most ideal situations is when prices, stay down there and begin to bottom out. And then you get that time correction and then you get the move up. Well, that didn't happen. Um, that didn't happen. And what happened was, I remember significant gap up, then down to test support, and up, and back down, and so on and so forth. So yesterday's thinking was um, that clearing this area, it could rally up definitely to here, but potentially get right back up to the top. And that didn't happen. As we know, things kind of started to jiggle around up there in the morning, later in part of the day, and you know, some sideways price action, and then it began to waterfall to the downside. And then there was the bounce. So today, yesterday's range was relatively wide. And if the ideal scenario would be getting over the top of it, getting below the bottom of it, other than it being options expiration, which makes me think things aren't going to go too far away from, SPX 6,600, 6,700 area. Um, it does open up the door to something pretty nasty on the downside. And so, that's unlikely to happen this week, just because of the options expiration. You got a rising 50 MA over here. But if it should break here next week, the downdraft could be substantial. And so, set your alerts, keep an eye on that. Um, I get a kick out of anybody using indicators or these option strategies, which have some useful benefits, some useful information with these options as far as um, large open interest and large volume. But as I'm looking around last night, I see what's happening in this industry, whether it's options or people looking at what's going on with market makers or, in level two. These colored charts are like Rembrandt paintings of different colors. And like a cloud of colors and different variations and gradient. And so I was like, wow, this. And so the commentator was talking about the lack of whatever they called it, edge or Varna or this or that, and whatever market makers are doing underneath or where the support is. And he was talking about how there was nothing, a support or whatever the gamma was evaporating and things could fall sharply, this and that. And I've looked at this before and it's like, yeah, there's a void, you know, of support. But how they get to the same conclusion is crazy. But people love that kind of complicated stuff. I don't think it makes people money. Simplicity is, you know, what works over decades. But I mentioned that don't get enamored by these new colored charts. I mean, it's escalated from Ichikumi clouds to things even wilder than that. You know. All right, so things aren't moving much this morning. They're inside of yesterday's range because everybody's waiting for the next news item to happen or not, or the government to open up, which it's not. Be best that it doesn't. So the Qs, I think, have the opportunity to play some catch up here. And I suspect this is a bad tick, I think. Yeah, bad ticks. It's holding up relatively well. So it's going sideways at resistance. If it can clear this, maybe it can get up to the top of Friday's nasty bar. Um, it's a long ways down to the low, but if it goes down there, again, considering options expiration, and just like yesterday. So this was yesterday's trading as to what was happening during the trading day, the white area. So it violated that, and that's where it turned back up again. So maybe this could be in the cards if the cards are down. So mark off that area down there. And if it clear this area, and one thing that happened yesterday, which was, I think it was here. I mean, it was, I'd have to put this on a day chart. But anyway, on the 5 minute chart, things look like they were setting up to go higher and they whipped right back down again. And then they flipped back up after they came down into this area right here. Maybe it was the spiders that went up and flipped down, but it was like a whipsaw. I think it was on the spiders. Yeah, over here. And it was like, and this is a great pattern. And it's a great example. Like this was taking out the highs. It looked like it was going to go up. And it flips back down again. Algos, who knows what, crazy people. Um, but that was a good setup to move higher, and then the Qs followed through. And then we all know what happened. All right. Let's look at SPX. Nothing was touched yesterday. The market just whipped back and forth. So today's numbers up there near the top of the range. If things can get moving, and you can see, the S&Ps here versus the Qs look a little better. I mean, the Qs look better to go higher versus the S&Ps. I think this is going to get stuck between 66 and give or take a little above up there for today. But, we'll see what the volume numbers say after the first 5 or 10 minutes. IWM went higher. It's going sideways up there. Closed, just slightly above 250. Impressive weekly, turning around that big red bar there. And let's take a look at, well, the futures aren't going to be doing much different than what we talked about. But oil just looks like it's going to go lower. Good and bad to that. Interest rates, I'm just kind of jiggling around here. Not doing much there on a prior low, so some hesitancy there. Bitcoin is down again, but beginning to stabilize. Keep an eye on this. It's down here on this major support. It's an important level. It came down really hard, and a little bit more stabilization. Whether you trade this, GBTC, uh, Bitcoin related, you know, stocks or ETFs, put spreads, because the turn here is insignificant, but as you can see, it's holding. And so the initial gap moved down. There was that tail and another attempt, and now so far it's early today, but beginning to turn green. So we'll be keeping an eye to see if that can make the turn. Yeah, getting old now with silver and gold. They continue to move up. This is the only real bull market that's going on out there. And it continues to march its way higher. And other than that, well, let's see. This looked like it was going to roll over. The euro, uh, nope. So the dollar must be down a little bit, but this is coming up into a resistance area. I'll be watching to see if that rolls. And I guess I didn't put, as I set this up, the British pound yet, but let's see what that's just whippy action. There's a lot of indecision out there. Bonds, look like they're going to go higher. They're stuck at resistance, but an uptrend or it's rattling around here, which means interest rates would go lower. Yeah, so I've been watching that, Alex, for a couple of days. And I mentioned it in the room on the first day, and things had been just rattling around there. But considering it's at that major support level, buyers are there. We look to the left. It's a demand area. It held before. So it should hold. It should hold initially. Whether it can rally from there, but look, the way it ripped there. Different times, but this was a little retest pattern. So it's basing down here, and just set alert, and we'll see what it does. Other than that, it's just more of the same. Whip down. Banks up, back down yesterday. So yeah, it's pretty nasty as far as the daily charts. Not bad intraday when we get the setups, but as far as the daily charts go and the swings, much more difficult to find. It's not throwing darts out there right now until things begin to settle down. All yours, Dan.
Good morning. Yeah, we have fairly light inventory. Posted a few more this morning. But since Greg left off talking about Bitcoin, that's one I did post. IBIT. I gave this 15-minute pivot right here. Which, yeah, it's yesterday's high. We'll do a put spread for next week. We can go all the way to the 60s, and there's premium. So that's a income trade. Alarms, DHR, up alarm went off. I sent out an alert to sell a third. I think we can try to get. At first I said half, and then I looked at this and I'm like, well, yeah, I probably should have done a half. But I'll keep an eye on it to protect our nice gains. Elon alarm. This is a little pseudo 1, 2, 3. I'll put that in this chart here. The spreads are ludicrous for a put spread, but I like it directional. Well, now the gap's too big because I think target 2150 and it's already at 21. So the gap's messing us up. Neo, we're in this up alarm. Looks great. Look, this is bull rectangle consolidation right here. And then you have this downside bar closing. That's what we say the tail. No, what's today, Thursday? So we bought this on Tuesday after the tail. And then we added yesterday. Look at that weekly. Looks like it's coming up to this prior high. So 1050 monthly. Monthly is a bottoming pattern. Monthly looks higher. So Jeffries. We gave that as a long, but the gap and go, I said, hold off. I never triggered it, but it's still a watch. Those are all my alarms. Oh no, I have a EVLV. Up alarm go off, so we sold another third of that pre-market. Nice out. It's coming in now. I think we sold it for 910. We're in trail mode there. Go to earnings now. UAL. This is a 1-2-3. It doesn't have a good void, but put spread. Put spread if there's any juice here. Looking now, it's not going to help at all because we got to see what the vol contraction is going to be. But put spread. Tuesday's low for next week expiration. I would do that, but yeah, let it just settle down. It's earnings. AMX. It's overlapping bars, but this is where your 20 and 50 that smooth out the data really help. This one was very clean right here. That was a bull rectangle closing breakout, but this is tough to trade. But you got railroad track 2050, so what's higher? Easy AI. I don't know how to enter that thing. There's no pattern for me. It has to settle down. Actually, talking about that, I have the bay on my list. That needs to settle down. Rexer, no pattern, but looks higher. Foxtrot Romeo, it's up too much. This is a beautiful 180 downside shakeout. And so the bulls were confident going into earnings. But no pattern. No pattern. JB Hunt, I did 2 earnings trades myself. This was one of them. I sold the 130s naked. Explosive move and a buy setup. And the 130s, look, major support on the weekly. So I'll just wait 5 minutes and then buy the highest spike I can to protect the gains, although it expires tomorrow. But I'd rather pay 2 pennies and just be done with it. No pattern. Slug. It's bounce on the downtrend. EPAC. Nothing. To fin. This, we talk about slowing momentum. Look at this, and then it made a new low and didn't go very far. So this is what we call a bullish new low, slowing momentum. So this could be the start of a bottoming pattern. Set an alert at 4860. $48.15. It's fine. I don't like the ones when they come down hard, but it does leave a void. It is a closing breakout. It's fine. Pharmaceuticals, just, the drill, make sure it's not a bio. TSM gapping up is what's making the SMH gap up and the Qs gap up. That's a bullish pattern. We talked about this in the green room. It's not a 1-2-3 because 1-2-3s have bullish green bars, but I interpret them the same. Like this manpower we were talking about. This is not a 1-2-3, but I interpret it the same. And that's bullish 2 inside bars with this red bar negated. So this one's still worth watching. Put it back on my list. Homeboy, nothing. Oh, there's our defend TSM. It's extended. I was going to sell the 260 puts, but there was no juice. Schwab, I was going to sell the 90s, but no juice. As sloppy as can be, but we can now. Let's see if we can do the 93s for tomorrow. If there's any juice. Don, you're my morning put spread helper. MMC, nasty gap, but let's see what it does down here. Progressive got whacked yesterday. So some of these insurance companies getting hit. Burger King, nice downside shakeout. Let's see if it can recover. I'll set an alarm at 109.40. No pattern. Infi, no pattern. Traveler. Wow, these insurance companies. Does anybody know what the theme is? I mean, other than, just losing money. That's another big gap. Let's see what that does. That's 3 insurance companies in a row. We actually had Charlie Bravo, Chubb on our watch list as a buy setup, and I canceled it. Obviously, I think that got choked down with Progressive. So there's 4 big major insurance companies getting whacked. MTB, no pattern. WITS, no pattern. Key, regional bank, no pattern. Wow. SMA, put spread. So Don, I got a couple put spreads here for us to watch. Those are 3 of them right there, Don, for put spreads, if you can help me. Sabish. I think I said if this opens flat, we can short it. On my minder here, it's showing us down 166, I guess, because of this print here at 55. But that's nasty. This is a great example when we do Master Trader Live on looking at moving averages. If I were to take the candles off of this chart and we were just to follow the moving averages, well, that's a mess over here. But starting here, look, the 20 and the 50 were up. They both rolled over. And now look at this. That's ugly. CMC. This was the other one I did. I sold the 55s. So I'm just bidding a nickel to close on, even though they expire tomorrow. Man, it shows it gapping up to 40. If it is gapping to 40, then that's a 30-minute high. Watch. But I don't trust gaps unless they're liquid pre-market. And those are on their earnings. Let's go to other watch list things. Cream, uh, they, they increase their guidance. That's a pro gap right there. A pro gap. You know, look at these moving averages down. It's starting to go sideways, but it's gapping over all of this. So I like this for a put spread and directional, but it's a big gap. It's a monster. So doing a directional is going to be harder finding our spot. Greg mentioned this HPE getting whacked. It's in the middle of no man's land. I like gaps like this, you know, come gap way the heck down here to support like around 21. So there's nothing to do there. Kirk had some news, I forget what. Let's set an alarm on this. It's a sloppy buy setup. Set alarm 142. Put spread idea under Tuesday's low. Rum. It's a buy setup in turn from a igniting gap bottoming pattern. I'm gonna set an alarm at 8:20. Yeah, I mean, I knew it was a storm. I didn't really know which one. All right, thanks. Yeah, let's look at the key. Wow, I'm surprised this is holding up this well after the those other four that were getting cracked. So they're, you know, the obvious reason is there's other stuff in here holding it up. All right, look at this thing. You know, it looks like a pump and dump toy. But let's see what it does. Maybe 30-minute high. Full alarm on the CNC. All right, bib I like. Buy setup, deep retracement. Let's see, there's no turn yet. And I don't trust yesterday's high, so I think the entry has to be Tuesday's high. That would give me more confidence in the turn. Cracks, you know, buy it. No, that's not. Oh, it's not a bio. Cracks precision. What is that, metal? Look at that friggin' gap. A little, it's not a buyout, because this is not a picture of a buyout. Look how the gap. Look how the gap is pushed down and scrunched all of this data. Ah, you know what? I just figured something out because I'm shocked at this volume after 5 seconds. So this volume bar is including all this pre-market. Look at that volume bar. We haven't even been open a minute. T-fin. All right, my alarm went off. I'll just reset it. T-fin. T-fin. 4860. Ah, shoot, Mr. Alarm. Greg. Early alarm, but he's hanging by a thread. We have a put spread in this. Expires tomorrow. Just reset it. High clear. Let's wait 5-minute high on iClear. So let me reset it. 189.51. Q's new high. They look the best, all the FANG. Well, Apple is the weakest. The other FANGs are holding. $189.51. EHR coming in. See, in retrospect, I wish we sold 50%. Curve. No, that's too sloppy. Here, my CMC, I'm not getting filled with a nickel. Must be this stupid spreads. Yep, 5 cents by $1. But I'm bidding a nickel. Oh, JB, let's see about closing you out. That's an excessive gap, 30-minute low. Might even be a 0 DTE. All right, there's no. They have 5-penny increments. I'm gonna bid a penny anyway. Sometimes I get filled, even though it doesn't post it. No fill. But I don't even feel like paying a nickel. I got the 130. So what are the chances of this going to 130? Actually, what I'll do is sell them for $1. So I have a, even if I pay a nickel, I got 95% profit. Yeah, what I'm gonna do is buy the higher ups, the 140s. And so Alex, I'll explain this to you later. Remember you asked me on one other stock? All right, jerk's not filling me in a nickel. So I'll just buy the 135s. Be done with it. All right, I'll explain that later. Yeah, bib, I got my alarm. I wanted to take out Tuesday's high, but maybe we can change it and do. Maybe we can do half 30-minute high. Our plug moving here, but it got sloppy yesterday. Oh, cream bottom right. So that is a pro gap. Let me check puts for tomorrow. I would do the 240s. Just eyeballing into that gap. Only 21 cents. Going out to next week. To Finn up alarm again. Yeah, we can do 237s for next week. Yeah, 60 cents. Let's do it. That is a pro gap.